Well, here we are again. Channel Zero is back with another fresh take on a popular creepypasta. One that will, of course, completely change everything about the story that made it popular in the first place. One that will, of course, transform the story into a cookie-cutter Hollywood tale. One that will, of course, be beloved by the same horror fans that think a Pennywise who just outright says, "Fear!" is super spooky and not incredibly obvious and for babies who lack any sense of subtlety. We gather here to remember NoEnd House, a creepypasta that took the internet by storm, sort of, and now rests in the eternal limbo of being owned by people who neither understand nor care about what made it special. Before this turd can be interred and relegated to the annals of history, let's take a look at where Channel Zero, NoEnd House, shat the bed. I hope you liked the first season, Candle Cove, because the writers are going to be serving up some of the same exact elements, such as messages cut into arms, ominous long hallways, spooky things appearing on screens, and totally shocking random stabbings, you guys. Candle Cove was a somewhat unique story about a children's show that didn't exist. Channel Zero took that and transformed it into yet another spoopy ghost murder story about an author who moves to a haunted location. Similarly, NoEnd House was about a man who follows his heroin-addicted friend's journey through an otherworldly Halloween attraction. Let's see, how can we make that story conform to tons of pre-existing horror tropes? Ah! I've got it! More teenagers! With respect to Alan Chaney. A group of dumb-as-rocks, one-dimensional teenagers die one by one. No one's ever done that before. I could go on about this, but I'll spare you. Suffice to say, I'll never understand what kind of brain looks at something and thinks, how can I make this less original? Let's just move on with this before I make a 2-hour rant video. The music is terrible. It drains all the suspense out of every scene by blasting your eardrums before anything spooky even remotely happens. Scary, scary, everything is a scary thing. If building dramatic tension is foreplay, Channel Zero just screams obscenities and runs at you with its dick in its hand. The show gets off to a bad start by showing a montage of the main character as a child. I mean, we get it. She was a child once. We understand. Okay, she was a child. There's literally nothing here that needs to be shown. If you want to build character, show the father ballet dancing with her to tell the audience he's a loving dad who would put aside his machismo to make her happy. Show her skating and falling and crying so he can kiss her knee and hug her. Give us something other than, she was a kid, he was a dad, can I make it any more obvious? I guess if we had the Tooth Child in Channel Zero Candle Cove, the next great icon for this season is the father? I don't know. Oh, cool. You turned NoEnd House into The Ring, just like you turned Candle Cove into The Ring. I can't wait to see how the next season is The Ring, and then the next season after that, and how it's The Ring. Hey, guys, have you ever seen The Ring? There are small mistakes throughout the series, like how this camera doesn't line up in the shot. But let's ignore those. What's with the really bad dubbing?
Hey, Jules. Oh, hey. Where have you been all summer? Margo's been such a recluse lately.
Mom.
My flight's at 5, so I'm heading out. Try not to auction yourselves off online or anything while I'm away.
Okay, we'll try.
I mean, you didn't think I'd let the whole summer go by without coming home, right? You didn't think I'd let.
Did they have to re-record dialogue because the original lines were just that awful? I mean, I shudder to think what could have been so bad that it wasn't good enough for Channel Zero.
Hey, JG, stop trying to be cool. We knew you as a child.
Why would they keep the couch the father died on? Not just because he died on it, but because he presumably emptied his bladder and bowels onto it as well. How far is NoEnd House from their home? They drive for what seems like a long time through a city during a montage, but then when they leave the house, they just walk home as if it's a short distance. Why does the house remove engines from cars so that you can't drive if you could just walk out of town anyway? Why does this door say next room instead of a number? Why is the next door not numbered at all? Is it just to make the audience forget how many rooms are in the house? Because that seems really lazy and absurd. There's no door on this cage. Later on, there's a door on this cage. We can't chalk it up to the house changing, because it probably would just remove the cage entirely, rather than putting a door on and waiting for somebody to possibly come by and maybe open it. Why are there so many older people and so few young people in the house, especially when all we see are young people going into it? Is it because older people are scarier when they stare at you? You can't say these people in the house have aged, because we see people with family members, such as children, that make sense with their current age. How does anyone in the house still have any memories to eat if Margo lost all of hers in a single year? And yes, she is in the house for a single year. It's been 6 years since the house was last in the USA, so any Americans we see in the house should realistically have no memories left to eat. Yet here we see one feeding 2 kids, meaning she's lost double the memories but still has plenty left. Need more proof that there should be nothing left in their heads? Just take a look at the rescued wife who lost all of her memories too. If the memory cannibals start rotting when they don't eat, why is the cannibal in the field skinny and dried out instead of rotting? If fire doesn't work near the house, then how is this extra lighting a cigarette? How did no one catch this at some point during the production? Here's the worst mistake of all. When Margo tells her new boy toy about the night her father died, she's wearing the same fucking clothes in the flashback that she was wearing during the modern day scene by the pool. They didn't even change her wardrobe for the flashback. She's still even holding the same glass. And her hair is forward in the same exact way. These people give 0 fucks! Why do the characters laugh at this line?
Sounds just like a super bougie haunted house to me.
I'm gay. Where's my Szechuan sauce?
Da man sich nur dann mit Stolz zum Deutschen bekennen durfte.
By the way, check out how immediately they teleport to another location right afterward.
Never seen again.
Definitely not.
Are these characters illiterate?
Is this what I think it is?
What?
It's a corn maze.
It says corn maze right in front of you, on a large sign, with spotlights. The pacing is all over the place. Let's go to the bar. I want to leave the bar. Never mind, I met a boy. I want to take the boy home. Hey, let's all drive to an art installation. Would a group of teens really pile into a car and rush off to see a haunted house, by the way? Really? It also seems really coincidental that the one of them that knew about this random death house wasn't even the one who lives in the house. Why do you think the blood on the floor will hurt you? Do you think you'll physically sink into it, or that it'll climb your leg, or that you'll catch fire if you touch it? You have no frame of reference that would cause you to think this blood would physically harm you. Also, please try the exit door at some point. Maybe it won't lead where you want, but it'll at least get you away from the blood you're incredibly scared of. I mean, this room already had randomly appearing blood before, and you weren't this hysterically terrified of the moving severed faces in the previous room. Here we have Margo Polo. Give me a shocked expression. Okay, that's pretty good. Alright, that's enough. You can stop now. Oh, this is the face you're going to make during the entire show, isn't it? Margo starts out as some big ol' nerdy shut-in, character traits she never exhibits again. Her character is established, then quickly changed completely when she meets some random douchebag in a bar. I'm sad. I'm antisocial. I don't want to go to a bar. I don't want to stay at the bar. Oh wait, something has a penis. Never mind, I'll hump it. It's sad when you can't keep track of the character throughout a single episode. She's so smart, so nerdy, so antisocial that she'll fuck a random dude she doesn't know inside a horror house that created a cannibal monster version of her dead father. Yeah, that all makes sense. That all works. Please tell me Channel Zero is awesome in the comments below, because this show makes me sick and laughter is the best medicine. Despite the fact she's the main character, there's nothing else to really be said about Margo. She's a non-entity, a void, like pretty much all the other characters. She's the horror equivalent of a fake-ass YouTuber with a bunch of Funko Pop figures on the wall behind them. Yeah, we get it. You're the biggest idiosyncratic geek, but only when you're not bar hopping and slapping ass with dangerous mystery men. The only other thing worth touching on is the final episode, when Margo has trouble killing her dad. The problem here is that she's tried to kill him twice already with no qualms about it, and one of the times it was entirely her idea. I'm beginning to think the only consistency the writers are interested in is the consistency of the shit they're taking on the audience. Dad jokes! Why does his food have to be physical? Just because it's creepy looking? What kind of ridiculous psychic house feeds itself by sucking out memories through physical contact with a doppelganger automaton who then eats a 3D printed cadaver filled with caviar? I mean, I usually wouldn't question a creative horror concept, but this goes a bit beyond creative and into the realm of weird for the sake of weird. I mean, why does Margo's dog come out as a puppy when all the other bodies are generated at their current age? The answer is simple. It looked creepier. Furthermore, Mr. Bite Me Daddy can stop himself from doing bad things, but only when it's convenient to the plot. It becomes readily apparent that the writers are just painting themselves into corners and then writing holes in the plot to escape through. Don't get me wrong, the actor playing the father is great, but, I mean, he's overdoing it a bit. It's a recurring problem with Channel Zero, actors either underperforming to the point of being boring, or going way over the top, like Pops' bath scene here. Knifey McStubble! Well, here's a non-character for you. He's looking for his wife, and he loves killing.
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
That's it. I mean, I guess we can deduce he's a complete and utter sociopath due to his actions. For example, he doesn't warn anybody about going into the house until about halfway through. And even then, he's only warning a small group of kids, and he decides to warn them in the most cryptic way possible.
You guys should leave.
What?
Go on, it's not too late.
A way that doesn't actually give them any reason to leave the house. He knows exactly what goes on inside NoEnd House. He's been there before. He lost his wife there. He shoots a memory clone of his wife, so he knows the house can make fake people. He brings photographs to show his wife, so he knows people lose their memories. Again, he knows exactly what goes on in the house, obviously, yet he tells no one. By the way, since he's escaped the house before, why does he wait to leave? Once he has his wife, he should be sprinting right to the way out. Instead, he waits for everyone else to find the exit, for no reason. Then again, why should we expect any sense of logic when this character finds the exact house everyone else is hiding in, for no reason? Deus Ex Suburbia, I guess. Sleepy Smurf. Some women have resting bitch face. This one has resting rest face. Seriously, I hope you're a huge fan of tired-looking people who lumber around like they've just woken up, because that's all this character will be doing for 4 full episodes of this season. It's like Channel Zero decided to do a crossover with The Walking Dead. I mean, I've seen tired character tropes before, but this is a new one. I guess they thought this show would be the sleeper hit of the season. Is that enough? Is that enough jokes? Okay. Anyway, this character could have been interesting in at least one regard. Throughout the season, it felt like there was some unresolved tension between her and the main character. There were moments that could have been taken for subtle hints that she liked other girls, specifically Margo. However, nothing is done with this, so I guess we really can't give the writers any credit for it. So here's a quick question for you. What the fuck is this egg? Everyone else we've seen has encountered a very real, very human copy of a human being. This girl, however, gets the only Kinder Surprise egg that's actually dangerous. Did the house spawn this because she read about a succubus once? Is this egg a succubus? If so, how lazy is it to mention the myth exactly once and then expect us to make the connection? If this house can generate imaginary figures like a succubus, then what about Santa Claus? In fact, it would have been a lot more unsettling if it actually did generate Santa Claus. This thing, though, I feel like it's a botched product placement for the Egg Council.
You'd better run, egg!
Why does the egg text her? Nobody knows. Why does the egg make her forget everyone but Margo? Again, no reasonable answer. I guess it's just more convenient that way. The only times we see this character not falling asleep are the first and last episodes. The latter, of course, sees her transform into a carbon copy of Knifey McStubble, right down to the survivalist backpack. This change would have made a lot more sense if the two characters had shared at least one scene where Knifey McStubble made an impression on her. Instead, we're just told to accept that she's a badass now. Max Landis. This character starts out rough. Essentially, his introduction is, "Hello, I'm an obvious sleazebag. Please hate me." However, he is later replaced by his duplicate while inside the house. Don't ask why the house generated a double of him instead of generating someone from his memories. And don't ask why his double had a girlfriend, implying he was there before the character even entered the house. Don't ask anything, really, because there are no answers. It's just shoddy writing used to deliver a mild surprise that no one could realistically care about. The funny thing is, his duplicate is different from him. Whereas the original is meek, lame, a general failure, his duplicate seems suave, cold, calculating, and, of course, murderous. However, once the duplicate replaces the original, he just goes back to acting like the original guy. They didn't even exploit the idea of having the duplicate act differently and raise red flags. They just threw this twist away because it didn't matter and they don't care. In fact, the only thing this character ever does in the story at all is die. Again. There's literally nothing else to say about this character. White Nightmare. I like this character. This guy actually has a character arc. Seriously. He starts out as the random dickhaver, a nobody love interest for the main character, and by the end of the season we can see that he was actually orchestrating all of the horrible events that followed. Unlike the previous character, who was actually replaced by his evil clone, the actor here does a bang-up job of going from boring, non-threatening nice guy to scary, controlling nice guy. Now, let's explore the problems, because you knew this was coming anyway. He bumps into the cage despite the fact he would know it was there, because he put it there. He acts freaked out by his own cannibal memory family despite knowing that they were there, because, again, he put them there. By the way, how did he cage them? Did he imagine the cage around them? If so, that would mean that the NoEnd House can make up anything you want out of your imagination. That would mean he could have just imagined 1,001 things to help him keep everyone in the house. He could have just imagined a cage around Margo. So, no, he didn't imagine the cage there, which leaves us with the question of where it came from and how he put it there. Why does Margo only get her dad, but this guy gets a whole family? Since he was a foster child, why did it pick this family out of everyone? What are the rules for this fucking house? Secret character unlocked! No Point House. Why did they change the NoEnd House from a Halloween attraction to a frou-frou art installation? Doesn't it work better as a spooky haunted house that attracts unwitting Halloween fanatics in? Would hordes of young adults realistically drop everything to go see what amounts to a college art project? I guess the house doesn't have any insulation, paint, pipes, carpet, glass, curtains. By the way, how much of an edgelord do you have to be to write this sign? And you! The message on the front door is a bit on the nose, isn't it? Who wrote that, by the way? Is the NoEnd House itself warning you not to go inside because it will eat your memories? Did someone else write it to warn other patrons? If it's the second one, can't the house just change itself to remove the message? Nothing about this makes sense. Did the writers actually rip off David S. Pumpkins on purpose, or are they so ignorant that they didn't realize their story was so inept that it had already been spoofed a year before?
Today's special. Your head!
A harmless creature. Don't think me wild.
That was my head!
I'm not the great Elijah. Since I am city.
Oh my god. I mean, it kind of looks like me, right? That's insane.
Is that why they take your picture when you enter the park?
They call
Just watch us while we're in line. Use some kind of 3D printer software that translates our image.
hanging. I'm David Pumpkins. And I'm gonna scare the hell out of you. Any question?
Room 2 straight up just murders a guy, apparently. Doesn't it need his memories? Was it trying to scare away his girlfriend? Why not just take her too? She doesn't even care about the missing dude, by the way. Call me crazy, but if my significant other disappeared, I'd at least try to look for him inside the house before I left. Who is the crazy man? Who is the wooden man? What is the house? Why is the house? Of course, none of this is ever answered, because it's harder to write an explanation than it is to just throw random shit on the screen. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for leaving a few loose ends in a story for people to fill in themselves, but it seems pretty obvious the writers just didn't have any real reason for doing anything they did. The sad part about this is, as usual, the audience will simply tune in, watch Channel Zero, and ignore all the problems. They'll talk about how cool it is to have a house that eats memories, and how Channel Zero is helping creepypasta by making it mainstream. The show will enjoy its ratings, even though they only come from so few reviews, and people will watch the 3rd season, then the 4th. Nothing will change and nothing will get better. You might say that this bullshit has no end?